Hey, welcome back to Media and Ministry. We're talking about the different possibilities of media in your ministry and those tools. We looked at the web, social media. Now we want to look at radio. Radio is a powerful, powerful tool, don't you think?
Absolutely. We both got the radio bug years ago.
Yes. So, using radio, there's so many aspects of radio, and the first aspect is the actual station itself, a terrestrial radio station, and we've helped actually install a lot of those radio stations, been involved around the world doing that for different ministries, and what a tool it is. The power of radio is I don't think it'll ever go away. It's a powerful tool that you could really take advantage of locally and around the world. Really, there's so much to it.
Yeah, and especially you see it you see it in the U.S., but then you see it really overseas,
Oh man, yeah,
branching into homes and villages. And we've both been on towers, and you look out and you're seeing villages that are out and about beyond you, and you know that they're going to be able to get the sound of the gospel broadcast over the radio to them in audio format. They don't have to read. They don't have to. They can be blind. They can still hear um, the gospel,
right.
which is super duper powerful. So yeah, I mean terrestrial. You got FM. Everybody knows FM. You've got AM and shortwave, which is also kind of out there. But it's the concept is they can pick it up on some type of a receiver in a car, in their homes. What's cool about overseas that I wish we had in the States is the cell phones overseas.
Yeah,
They've got the receivers built
yeah,
into the phones.
yeah,
Which is just, they're walking around with their phones listening to radio,
right.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and really overseas. If a missionary could have a radio station, I think they would do anything to get a radio station. It's just a very powerful tool overseas. And, we've been in places in Philippines and Africa and um, lots of areas putting in radio stations. And as Cody said, being up there on the tower and looking out, there's so many villages and so many areas that you can't reach. You can't get into. Um, you can't even drive to. You have to walk into these villages. But a radio station can reach those areas, and man, it's a tremendous tool for so many people. And even here in the United States, you could, if you don't have a radio station, and how hard is it to get a radio station here in the United States?
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough. I mean, the FCC's got to approve it. They only have certain filing windows every 5 to 10 years. I mean, about the luck is it's easier to get one overseas than here. Here, you have to either find one and buy it that somebody's wanting to sell, which is going to be a lot of money.
Yeah, millions probably.
Or you have to wait for the FCC to open a frequency, and then you have to apply and go through that process, which is a really crazy process. And then hopefully, maybe, potentially, you spend this money and then you get it, and then you have to put all the equipment in. I mean, minimum. I mean, you're expensive depending upon the station. You're at least $100,000-$200,000 really quickly. But there's value to it. I mean,
Sure.
we've got an AM and an FM station in Greenville that we help with. We've got an AM in Virginia that we help with. We've got one in Florida. We got one in Ohio. And each one has their own dynamic. They reach, even across the U.S., cultures are different, and they reach those places where they're at. We're seeing a shift though to online radio.
Right.
What you want to say about terrestrial?
So, terrestrial is there's an aspect to it where I've never thought about getting my own radio station. What about somebody else's radio station? So, making a broadcast, a lot of people do it. It was big back in the 1950s. Mm-hmm. It seemed like preachers were all over the radios, and they were just making a broadcast. They didn't have a radio station. So that's an option. that's a great, powerful option for your community. Make a broadcast and put it on a local radio station. Have a certain time slot, and you're getting the word out. And the idea is you're reaching people that normally won't come to your church, won't be involved with your ministry, but you're reaching people and souls getting saved through that. It's going to happen. And that's the whole idea. And, you got to count the cost, yes, but do we put a value on a soul? I don't think so. So, I mean, we can look at the expense of things, of all this, but I mean, if God pushes you in that area, God's going to provide. I think of, both of us here at Tabernacle Baptist Church. Dr. Harold Seitler had the vision of WTBI, the radio station here, and I mean, he was told. He said, "Man, how in the world are you going to afford that?" And his reply was, "It doesn't matter. If it's $1 million or dollars, who cares? God's going to provide for that. If God told me to do it, God's going to provide." And so, I think that's the mindset. If we're concerned about funds for anything in ministry, we got to count that cost. But we have a big God that can provide all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If it's something He put in your heart to do, step out and do it. Whether it's starting your own station, buying a station,
Yeah.
or putting your program on a station. Great point. I mean, so in Virginia, as a kid growing up, we always put a radio program on a station called WLRV every Sunday. The church paid for it every month. It played from 12 to 12:45, if I remember right. This is back in the day. I remember dropping off cassette tapes, but anyway, it was a while ago. Well, lo and behold, just probably 4 years ago, the church reached out to the station. They were willing to sell it, and so the church bought it, and now it's a 24/7 Christian station. But for years, even now, people still listen to that Spring City slot on the radio station. And when you consider, and back then it was just a country bluegrass. It's your hometown station, Putting a program on a secular station isn't bad, because you're reaching people that are in that, listening to all of that. And a little side note, stations are required to carry certain programming to help to help young people, to help teens. And so they have to carry a certain amount of religious programming anyway. So they're very happy to oblige by that. And, and a lot of times they will sell slots on Sunday, and they kind of make Sunday their thing. But yeah, terrestrial radio is huge. What you can do with it.
Yeah.
And I guess we're seeing now a shift to online radio.
Right.
So everybody has a smartphone. Everybody has a phone in their pocket. Whether it's an iPhone or an Android phone. The phone's got internet. The phone can listen to radio. It can listen to streaming. You guys know that. You can pull up whatever you want. So everybody already has something in their pocket. And if you want to start an online radio station, we're seeing a number of people do this. Even a missionary friend of ours in Africa just did this. People can listen to your radio station wearing their earbuds, wearing headphones, walking around right off their smartphone. There's no tower. There's no expense and craziness there. You don't have any permits from the FCC. You do have to pay music licensing if you're broadcasting in the U.S., but that's nothing really crazy. But online radio is great. You can run just like a regular radio station. You can have your IDs. You can have programming. You can have news if you want to. You can have your lineup how you want it. And I mean, you can even hop on there and go live if you want to. So online radio is something to consider. We're seeing a lot of people do that. We've done that with Bible Radio Network together for, 10 years. We've got 6 or 7 stations online. Our English station, just a small English station, last year we had 60,000 listeners, I believe, from 100 and some countries. So people listen to online radio.
Right. So, I mean, what we've seen is, I would say terrestrial is better in the sense of listenership because you're not limited to who can tune in, whereas internet you're kind of limited, if I understand right. You're kind of okay. You're in a block of 50 to 100 listeners. You pay for per
Correct.
se.
Yeah. So you would just pay for your streaming server. So you can always upgrade that based on how much you need.
Right.
But you can. I mean, it's you can go as high as you want to.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's where
which
it can
is
get a little costly, and that's the difference. Okay, there's a couple differences. You're no longer going to your the FM dial or AM dial. You're going to a smart device or a computer, and then your listeners may be limited on the internet side, but you're still getting listeners and getting them involved in that in your ministry in that aspect.
and
So
all your smart devices like the Google ones, Alexa, Apple. You can
right.
go and say, "Hey, play Bible Radio Network." It'll pick it up and play it on all your smart speakers. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
So-
How that connects.
So one device is really one listener.
Correct. Yep.
So, I mean, you take that one device and play it over a loud system or whatever. You're adding all those listeners, and they're on one device.
Yeah.
So there's ways around it, and I think it's a powerful tool. Saying that, we've had just this year several radio stations, terrestrial radio stations overseas, that the government's come to those missionaries and have put stipulations on them that they can't be under. And so those stations on the FM side have gone dark, and then we've come in and helped them with online radio. So their voice is still there, and their programming doesn't change. Everything's the same, and they're still on the air, but it's online, and that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's cool. Over the years, we've got cloud servers set up. I'm not going to totally geek you out. This is so my world. But we have cloud servers set up with automation software that we can program everything, and it ticks right through. We send that to our streaming servers, and then they take it, and then that sends it out to all your devices. So then we hook that back to your website, being your hub. So you've got a player on the bottom of that website. They click play, it's there. They can listen to it. You can get listed in the different directories, things like that. So it is awesome. And there's ways you can do as you grow and scale that. If you want unlimited listeners, that is a possibility. We just have to kind of work with the server side a little bit there. So we kind of let it grow with you. As you grow and as you expand. It is awesome though.
It is.
And what's cool about online radio is it is crystal clear. It's CD quality.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Sirius XM took
Yeah.
off so big, and the other satellite things, because the quality was clear. FM is pretty clear. AM, AM's AM, right?
Right.
But internet people love the clarity of it. It's you can Bluetooth it in your car as well as you go down the road. So it's neat. It's really, really neat.
Yeah. So radio, terrestrial, if you could look into getting a license or radio station, the ultimate best. But after that, create a broadcast, put it on a local radio station. And honestly, it doesn't have to be a Christian radio station. You're trying to get the gospel out. So consider your source, and consider what radio station you put that on. And then if all else fails, there's online radio. And again, it's not a last resort. It's a great option. So these are tremendous tools. Again, they're tools. Some, it's amazing how tools, it's like comes in waves per se, because some are really at times pretty powerful tools, and at other times not. So you just got to see what's good for you and your area and what works. But all these tools have power to them and have the ability to reach people with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So pray about what God would have you to do in the area of radio.